Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors, February the 12th, 2019. We were going to have our budget session today, but that's canceled till 10 o'clock tomorrow. So budgets will be 10 o'clock tomorrow. And once we go through this agenda, there's a few things too that have been tabled. So we'll get to those. Okay, roll call, please.
Leyland?
Here.
Schwartz?
Turn that one down.
Here.
Trelka?
Here.
White?
Here.
Little?
Here. Okay, would you please join us in a moment of silence? Okay, join us in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 1 is agenda received as proposed or as amended.
So moved.
Second.
We do have some areas again when we get to there I'll
Yeah.
explain, but we're just going to go over them. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, public comments. Anybody like to address the board at this time? It's not an agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to claims and payments. Grant, did you get them by any chance?
No, did you get him?
Oh. Any concerns?
No concern. And the amount for the county is $241,057.62.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
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 It's a resolution.
Okay, roll call please.
Leyland?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Trelka?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Little?
Yes. And item B.
There are no expenditures for Country View.
Okay. We'll have a roll call on that anyway, do we?
I don't think so. Do we need to? I don't think so.
Okay, moving on to item 4. Receiving project updates from department heads and or elected officials.
Morning,
Morning,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. An update on the road conditions. Of course, all roads, paved roads, roads are snow and ice covered this morning. All the trucks and the graders are out clearing the snow. We do anticipate the wind to pick up this afternoon. The plows, the trucks will be out there, we anticipate, until 5 p.m. this evening. If the wind gets so bad that the visibility becomes very low, the trucks and the graders in particular will not be out tomorrow, but we're anticipating the wind to die down in the morning, and then the graders should be out in the morning. So we ask that residents be patient. We are out there. It does take us time to get around to everyone. Again, road conditions can be accessed at 511. That's the Iowa DOT, the nationwide road condition report. You can call 511 or you can look online at 511. And then another item is in 2020, the county, we will be resurfacing Turkey Foot Heights. That's a subdivision in the northwest portion of the county. We will be holding a public meeting with those residents next Thursday, February 21st, at 6 to 7 p.m. at the Rotary Reserve on Union Road. We've notified all those residents by letter. We're hearing from them, and I would invite all of you to be there as well, or several of you to be there as well. Again, it was February 21st, Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Again, if we have more than 2, let it be posted then.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
anything else? Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, item 5 is minutes approved for February the 5th and February the 7th, 2019.
Moved.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. We do have an ordinance request by William and Abby Erkelman. We'll get to that here shortly. Item 7 is consent agenda. This will be made with a single resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Roll call, please.
Schwartz. Schwartz.
Yes.
Jelka.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Leyland.
yes,
Little.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 8, other business. Item A is a motion that the 2018 Blackhawk County wage listing be received, placed on file, and direct county auditor to publish in the Waterloo Courier.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on that item? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is a motion that the Iowa Individual Health Benefit Reinsurance Program for 2018 annual reporting form be approved. Direct chair to sign for the same.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, this is a motion that the personnel rec for a paralegal court debt recovery officer. This is a full-time Blackhawk County Attorney's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Brian, you want to add anything to this?
This is just a replacement for retirement that we had.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item D, this is a motion that the personnel requisition for temporary summer helper intern position with no job offer to be extended until the budget has been approved.
so moved,
This is for FY20 budget. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer.
Second.
Kathy?
Yeah, I normally request every year for a summer intern to help us in the office here. They're generally helping us with surveying needs to get ready for future upcoming roadway projects or bridge projects. We think it exposes students, they're always students to civil engineering and the things we do here at the county. They're generally here from mid-May until mid-August, and we're in compliance with all county personnel regulations, and I believe the pay is $14 to $15 an hour. So I'd like to recommend that you allow us to be able to hire a summer intern.
Some of the money will be coming out FY19.
So some of the money, because it is split through in 19 and 20 fiscal years, we have the money, of course, for FY19. We've already been approved for that. Next year's FY20 money has not been approved by you yet, so we're hopeful that happens, and that's why we say that no job offer is extended until the budget's passed.
Okay. Does anybody got any questions for Kathy? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item E. This is a motion of travel request submitted by Deb Bunker, Human Resource Director. Be approved. It's for $988 for Marianne Kurtenbach and Amanda Fessemeyer to attend the Iowa Employment Law Spring Conference in Altoona, Iowa. This is April 3rd through the 4th.
So moved.
Okay. Debbie, anything?
Morning Board, Debbie Bunker, HR Director. This is just the annual training that they've been attending the last few years. It's really the best for public sector employment. We find it to be very valuable.
Just those two, you're not going? or-
I'm not going. I'll stay home back and watch The Office this time.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody got any questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item F, let's see, we're not gonna do anything with that. The individual is unable to attend, so we will move on to item G. This is a motion to direct the finance director to advertise for a public hearing on proposed Blackhawk County budget
So
for
moved.
fiscal year 2019-2020 to be held on March 5th at 9:05 in boardroom 201.
Second.
Any questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Go to the next one.
Well, I'm looking at this, we're gonna have a little lengthy discussion on that. Let me see what we got here. We don't have closed session contracts. I'm not sure what item I is. We'll come back to that snow because that may take a little bit of discussion, that ordinance one. So I'd like to come back to that. Resolution to dissolve the Blackhawk County Country View Board of Advisors. Obviously, they don't exist because Country View don't exist, but
So moved.
they thought we'd take action on it anyway.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
The resolution.
Resolution then? Roll call, please.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. We'll come back to item H here. Let's do the hearing first. Okay, the time is 9:13. Proposed ordinance number 77-223, Herkelman rezoned.
Motion to receive and place on file proof of publication.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to waive the first hearing.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And item 3 is a motion to close the hearing if there's no oral or written comments that were placed on file. Are there any written comments on
No, sir.
file? Okay. Okay, Zeth, it's up to you.
Alrighty. Okay, the Planning and Zoning Commission at its regular meeting on January 15, 2019, reviewed the request by William and Abby Herkelman to rezone 5.1 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural Residential District to allow for the construction of 2 new single-family homes south of 8902 Dysart Road, which is approximately 1 mile south of the Dysart Road and East Rock Road intersection. The request to rezone 5.18 acres from A Agricultural District to our Agricultural Residential District in order to build 2 single-family homes. It was moved by Shane and seconded by Sage to deny the request to rezone 5.18 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural Residential District in order to build 2 new single-family homes. Motion to deny failed with Wertz and Sack voting to approve the request. Sack and Wertz voted to approve the request because the land had been has not been farmed for over 30 years and meets one of the 3 criteria to be considered as a unique and compelling evidence to approve a rezone request in an area that is considered high agricultural value. Sage and Shane voted to deny the request due to the high LISA score for the land and prime farmland concerns. The one parcel containing, the 2 parcels containing the 5.1 acres for the proposed rezone area has been zoned A Agricultural District since the adoption of the zoning ordinance. Surrounding area consists of agricultural district to the north, south, east, and west. The rezone area is designated as agricultural on the future land use map, a component of the Blackhawk County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. None of the area to be rezoned is located in a special flood hazard area as designated by FEMA. The site does have a land evaluation score of 93 and a LISA score of 251, which does indicate high agricultural value. The applicant wishes to rezone 5.1 acres from agricultural to agricultural residential in order to build 2 new single-family homes. The rezone area consists of 1 parcel, and if the rezoning is approved, there are plans to plat the parcel into 2 lots through the minor plat process. The parcel is large enough to accommodate the 2 developable lots that meet the lot and size requirements for the AR Agricultural Residential District by being greater than 1.5 acres in size and wider than 150 feet. The property main parcel has a LISA score of 251 out of 300, which is considered a high agricultural site. The zoning ordinance notes that land that is classified as having high agricultural value should be strongly discouraged for development in almost every case. It also states that in general, these sites are reserved for agricultural activities and protected from urban development or urban use encroachment. However, the ordinance also states that under very unique circumstances are these sites to be developed and only after compelling evidence is provided. The zoning ordinance does list several criteria that could be considered as a unique and compelling evidence. There's follows. Area has not been an active row crop production reserve conservation program for the previous 15 years. Area is not conducive to production by reason of parcel size or shape. areas compatible with surrounding uses by reason of similar uses, meeting and where these criteria should not constitute approval, as each will be reviewed and evaluated on its own individual circumstances. It should be noted that the parcel contains vacant pasture land. The majority of the parcel has not been farmed for 30 years. An applicant previously requested to rezone 17.49 acres from A agricultural district to AR agricultural residential district to allow for the construction of 6 new homes on 2 parcels. This rezone request included the 7.09 acre parcel at 8902 Dysart Road and the parcel to the south that contains 10.4 acres, which is the same parcel that is part of this new rezone request. The previous rezone request was unanimously denied by the Planning and Zoning Commission on March 20th, 2018. This request is different than the March 20th, 2018 request because it simply only involves rezoning 5.18 acres from A agricultural district to AR agricultural residential district to allow for the construction of 2 new homes. Should also be noted that this parcel is a lot of record and 1 home can be built on that parcel without rezone approval. The proposed rezone area is not located in the Blackhawk County Waterloo Airport Land Use and Overlay District. Therefore, all condition has been met. Heiberger indicated to the Technical Review Committee that 5.1 acres rezone area was part of a different rezone request in 2018. The request to rezone 7.149 acres from A agricultural district to AR agricultural residential district to allow for the construction of 6 new homes on 2 parcels was unanimously recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their regular meeting on March 20th, 2018 due to the property's high Lisa score and concerns raised by neighbors that farm the area and its isolated location. Stefan also noted the high Lisa score of 251 for the property, and that is the staff report.
What was the vote?
This land was part of a previous rezone request that went before you folks, except it was for the 8902 Dysart Road parcel, which is to the north of this parcel.
Sure.
But originally, a previous applicant requested to rezone both lots for 6 homes, and this request is different because they're only going to rezone or proposing to rezone 2 lots within the rezone area.
So did P&Z take action on this request?
Yes, yeah, and it was a 2-2.
That's one that was a 2-2. Okay, board, any questions?
Yes. Is Pete there this morning?
Is who there?
Pete is here.
Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Okay, the question I have, because this was denied in P&Z twice before, even though it's been with different configurations, the first time, it said it was 7-0, the second time it was 4-0, and the configuration is somewhat different, but it's still the same property, and I'm seeing now that, or I saw earlier, I guess, because it failed because of the 2-2, they didn't have enough board members there to avoid that, and unfortunately, that they were missing 3 people. I'm wondering if it's possible we could send it to P&Z, back to P&Z, rather than the board make the decision, and it depends on what the board feels too, but if that is something that we should consider.
Well, I think it was a legitimate board meeting because they had a quorum, correct, Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure on what grounds we would send it back.
Yeah. Be like here.
Well, that was my question, is because it failed, because they didn't have adequate representation to do a vote.
Well,
And I wondered if we could send it back to them rather than it come to us. But I know it can be done both ways.
it's highly unusual for the board to send it back, and I have some serious questions in my mind as to whether or not that is a legitimate action of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
However, it would have been appropriate for the parties or the zoning commissioner to raise the issue of the attendance at the meeting, but if they had a quorum present, then the action that they've taken is a final action. And the more appropriate thing to do would be for the board to proceed with this decision on this matter, and the parties then could make a reapplication under such times as are permitted in the zoning ordinance. That may require a 6-month wait. I'm just not sure about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I guess my next question then is, as far as what it would require of us, nothing supermajority. We certainly just could do this as we always would, right?
That just failed, so it'd be a normal vote,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be for
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pete,
Well, my concern is really just that we've told that this was here twice last year, and even the board supported the decision for denial. And now we're looking, and I know Mr. Herkelman owns the property now, and I appreciate what he's doing, and he could build his house on that property, but it's the second house that's requiring them for the rezone. And so I guess I'm wondering what we turn two situations down for the same, basically the same thing, and have yes to Seth or someone else.
Well, if that question is addressed to me, Supervisor Leland.
Or you as well, please. Thank you.
This was a property submitted before the zoning commission, and even though it is similar, it is not the same. And in these zoning issues, it becomes a rather precise thing. And this is an appropriate difference from the previous zoning application. So I think that we are proceeding as we should proceed in this matter at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Grant, you had something?
yeah, I'm just curious about how the vote was taken. There was a vote to deny the request. That vote failed. There was no vote to approve the request. And if it's assumed that the vote that failed to deny the request was a vote for approval, then it was a 2-2 vote, and that would have failed as well. That frankly disturbs me in terms of whether they approved it or not. And it would seem to me that in any case, it would take a supermajority of this board to approve the request, since there is not really an affirmative vote on file from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd just like you to comment on that, Pete.
Well, that's an interesting point. And they would have had the opportunity to submit a positive motion with respect to this, that is, for its passage. But the fact that they didn't doesn't make this inappropriate. I do think, though, this issue of a supermajority, I think that's a good question you raise, and I think that the Board of Supervisors would be appropriate to cover themselves here by requiring a supermajority vote in any action that is taken today. And thanks, Grant, for bringing that to my attention.
Okay, that brings me to one other question that I think is certainly something I'd like to ask, and I don't know if maybe someone else was going to bring this up. And it's a potential or the possibility of a conflict of interest, because to do supermajority, we'd need all of us to vote. And I don't know that it is a conflict of interest, but I was going to ask Pete, your counsel, also on the fact that if Mr. Herkelman is employed or is an employee of Mr. Trelka,
Yes, okay.
Are we okay and fine with that, so that that's not a conflict of interest? I guess I just want to be sure we're...
Right. Thank you for that important question. Chief Trelka has previously inquired of me about this about 2 weeks ago, and I advised him at that time that this was not a conflict of interest. Herkelman is not employed by Trelka. Herkelman is employed by the City of Waterloo. So,
Yes.
So there's no conflict of interest here. This is quite appropriate for Chief Troika Supervisor Troika to vote on this matter.
Thank you.
Board? I don't necessarily agree with the supermajority, so I want the record to reflect that I consider it a normal vote. If it was a 3-2, it'd still be a regular, normal roll call, and the same thing with a 2-2. So I don't agree with the supermajority vote if that's the way we're gonna do it. Is there anybody that wants to speak from the development? Come up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
My name is William Herkelman. I live at 4121 Mockingbird Lane. We're the applicants, or my wife and I are the applicants. The two people that we want to sell the other 2.5 acres to the bottom the south end of the land are here as well, Zach and Randall Crane. We approached the Planning and Zoning Commission to rezone, and we intentionally rezoned it at 2.5 acres to alleviate any concerns that in the future, if we sold them 2 acres or sold them 3 acres, it'd be reapproached to try to split it up again with the intention of we don't want that becoming another neighborhood. The difference from what we're doing and what was previously done by Philip Shirk in March of 18, he wanted to turn that into 7 or 8 houses. And the concerns were brought up by Mr. Edward Entz on Dysart Road, just north of that property. He didn't want the traffic. 7 or 8 houses turns into 14 to 16 cars, and then kids grow up, they're driving. Another concern was brought up by Snyder and Snyder Farms on Ainsboro. After we made the application, my wife and I went out and made contact with Mr. Snyder at his farm. We sat there for an hour and a half with him. His concerns was gardens next to the property line, and they spray, it kills tomatoes. He gave in a scenario where his insurance company had to pay $1,200 for dead tomatoes because of his spray. We ensured him that, one, we said anything we do like that, we'd make sure far enough off the property line. I explained that my wife watered a plastic plant for 2 months one time, and it still lives. And I also talked to him. I'm one of those on the south half of the property. I don't know if you can see it on that photo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
On the south half of that, or the south portion of that property, there's a farm drive off of Dysart Road, and that's used by Snyder and Snyder. They rent all that land to farm. That's technically part of this parcel. I assured him that I'm certainly not gonna take that over. That drive's been there for, I don't know, who knows how long. And I'm not gonna say you can't use it or take it over or fence it off. We tried to be, and he was actually, his concerns were alleviated by the meeting we had with him at his office. My wife and I, another difference between Philip Shirk's proposal and ours is Philip Shirk never actually put an offer on the land, and he told the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm not buying it unless you rezone it. My wife and I are buying it either way. We're gonna build our home out there. I don't need 10 acres of land, and I know Randall and Zach, their kids go to Orange School, and being in this area would allow them to keep their children in the Waterloo school system and Orange School District. So we're building on it regardless. We just like to be able to, because we take care of their kids when they need it, and we've got dogs, and when we go on vacation, they're willing to take care of our dogs. It'd just be nice to have close family friends closer to us. So regardless, we're hoping to start building this spring. Depending on what happens here, they may start as well. And I understand that the Lisa score is relatively high for that land, and that's one of the indicators. Everybody I've talked to said that land has been pasture land for 30 to 50 years. Al Bovey works with the city of Waterloo as well, says his mom lives about 2 miles west of that land, and as far as he knows, it's been 50 years since it's been pasture. Topographically, if I could come around, there's a high spot here in the bottom area, and this high up here, this is relatively low. It doesn't hold water necessarily, but in heavy rains, it's gonna fill up, or it's gonna have a stream through it. I don't think it's tillable, and I think that's probably why they turned it into pasture land. So we're not necessarily losing any farmland, it's just grass now. What was the, I lost my train of thought. One of the concerns that brought up is rezoning farmland or agricultural land is putting trees under. There's no trees on the property. I know my wife and I have talked to our general contractor, and anybody that lives out in the country knows you want to put a wind block up, we'll probably plant 50 trees to the north edge of our house just for a wind block out of the north. So if anything, we'll be adding to the trees in Blackhawk County. I think that's all I have. Anybody? Any questions for me at all?
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there anybody else?
I do have a question regarding the property that is in between the two parcels that they're looking at building on. Is there anything that would disqualify you, so this is legal probably question, that would prevent another house being built on that property?
Well, my understanding is once a house is on a lot of record, whether it be one or two, you have to wait 15 years, I believe, to reapproach. And to be honest with you, I'm planning on putting an acre pond or so right smack in the middle of that extra land. Maybe a houseboat, but I don't plan on building another boat, or house, I should say.
Seth, you want to answer that question, or?
Oh, okay, yeah, this is basically a lot of record, so it does allow for one home regardless, and the rezone is just simply being requested just to allow for two homes on the site.
Okay.
But the applicant's already purchased the land, and that he has every right to build on that land.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Okay,
Motion to
then,
close the hearing.
did we take action on that? Did I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 4 is a resolution to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White,
Yes?
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Jelka,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. So, the adoption of the ordinance then, Pete, you're saying it takes 4 votes?
Yes.
So it takes 4 out of the 5 votes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Now, that's, a yes vote is allowing it. The ordinance, no vote is a denial. So, with that said, we'll have a roll call, please.
Leyland,
No.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Jelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes?
Little.
Yes. Okay, motion did pass. Okay. Closed session we don't have, along with the contracts and agreements, we're gonna come back to them. Mr. Galloway couldn't, travel down here. So, with that said, we'll go back to the item that we skipped over.
Snow and ice removal.
Huh?
Snow and ice removal.
Yeah.
Good subject for
What,
today.
what this is discussion possible board action, ordinance number 85, snow and ice removal. The majority of the ordinance, talking to the county engineer, is got some good language. The only thing that we want to look at is the section that talks about ice. What the plans are is putting together a committee to review this ordinance with the engineers department, a couple of supervisors in the sheriff's department, and bring something back to the board that we could update it. I believe this ordinance is 2003 to 2005, somewhere in that area.
That's correct.
What I have on here for today is legal question, really, Pete. Is there any way we can do something with the ice removal part of it, or the inclement weather, snow, whatever, now to give the county engineer a little flexibility until we actually change the ordinance and adopt it?
You do have authority to do that, and as a policy matter, and because of the emergency nature of the situation, you want to limit it. You don't want this to go on for a very long period of time, but I think a short period of time because of the emergency nature of this matter would be appropriate.
And Kathy, you said really the majority of the ordinance looks pretty good, language in it, or?
Yes, I would say that.
I mean, we could go through it real quick with the committee, but we're more looking at a certain section. I think the whole idea is to give you a little bit more flexibility or something. That makes sense.
Right, I really wanted to have a broader discussion about our snow and ice removal practices,
Okay.
and we could do that right now, or we could, I had suggested perhaps we meet after the board meeting. It's really up to you. I'm prepared to talk about it now or after the board meeting.
So you're gonna have yourself and somebody else from the engineers department, any of the board members like to partake in this?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Sheriff, I'm assuming, is it gonna be Mark?
Mark and I will.
Yeah, because Mark, I talked to him the other day, and I think he's the one that
Brought it up.
brought it up really. So what we'll do then, Kathy, is you can get together the sheriff and the 2 supervisors and set up a meeting to go through that. Do you feel we need to do anything at this time, giving you a little flexibility until we get that ordinance revised?
Not the ordinance per se, but I do feel like we are approaching the end of the budget session. There are a few items that I would like to talk about as far as improving our effectiveness that will cost us more money that we have not budgeted for.
Okay. I know the other day you were talking about a part-time person.
Yes.
I disagree with that, but it's something that can come out of the committee. It doesn't take more people. I think it's just using your people a little bit differently in what you're doing now. Whether it be staggered shift or something, at least during the snow season, which in all reality, you're probably talking 30 days a year. So I don't think, my personal feeling, and we'll let the committee come back, but I don't think the solution is to add people.
So if I could address that now, I would like to do that, just because I feel that we are
I'd rather
up
have the
against
other
the
two
budget.
supervisors here because I don't feel comfortable when they're not here. I know they can hear us on the phone, but I like to see people here so they can,
Sure.
I don't know how to explain it in proper terms, but I'd rather have people in the seats to vote rather than on the phone.
So why don't you,
Well, I'm here. I'd like to not delay the conversation because it's a matter of public safety.
so,
I think there's a section of common sense too that enters into it. I think going out on the roads when there's icy, common sense. You don't go out on an icy road. We've seen the results on TV, and Mr. Chalk and I were talking about it this morning. There's too many people that drive unnecessarily when they're out in that icy conditions that don't really even need to be out there. What do you want to bring up, Mr. Schwartz? I know you're stuck, so that's a prime example right there.
Kathy, what is it you wanted to share with us today?
well, from what I understand, the prime location right now that sticks out among all others is North Elk Run Road and Raymond Road. The truck traffic, and I believe snakes over to 63, is that correct, Sheriff? And that's where we're kind of getting our problems there in that area. Yeah, so, a little improvement there on something we could do. I understand that the truck was called out that night and was at the scene, but did not lay anything down on the road, whether it be salt or gravel or.
I did talk to the operator, and he did place sand on the hill as he came down.
Okay.
And went back.
Yeah, I was told that they drove by it, but they didn't actually put anything down.
Put some up on the hill.
I guess really what I'm asking for you right now, and you're not going to get a person hired today, so the question is there anything we can do as a board to help you through this until we come back with maybe a minor change ordinance?
I would say today, no. We really need to take a look at our practices and become more effective with new technologies that are available. We will not become the DOT, but we do probably need to look more seriously at a part-time seasonal person. The union does not allow us to have people that were generally working 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. For years, we've resisted having a person work at night due to the union, as well as a mechanic generally has to be available, as well as a supervisor. So we resisted it, but I just feel at this point, we're getting to the point where the public does expect us to be more effective. The sheriff definitely believes that way. I went out with Mark Herbst Friday and saw numerous overturned vehicles on Canfield Road and trucks in the ditch on Elk Run Road. And yes, I know we're responsible for our own driving habits, but that's still, we're still not meeting the expectation of drivers and the freight traffic in particular. I feel there's several freight routes that we really need to to step up.
Obviously, we got a lot of roads in Blackhawk County, and we can't cover them all. But I think right now, they're asking that we at least look towards that Raymond, North Elk Run, and that route where the semis come into Tyson, Northeast Site, and so forth, so. So I guess, apparently there's something in there now that the sheriff's office can call your people out middle of the night like they did that night.
So we just feel like there's not much we can do. Last Thursday evening when we had the ice, we were very similar to the DOT. The DOT plowed all day. They went home at 6 p.m. There were no plows working for the DOT that evening after that ice had developed on the roadways. We were the same way. We get called, the ordinance states that due to freezing rain that we will not be placing sanding, salting, or other abrasives on the roadway due to freezing rain. That occurs outside the county's usual working hours. And we generally have been taking that stance because our guys have already worked 12 hours and then they've got to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning. And that's why we've tried to maintain that position. If we want to change that position, we need to have another person available who can work outside those hours. I like the idea of having an on-call person. That's what the DOT employs, several on-call people. We only call them when we need them. That is the understanding. They're outside the union contract. We employ them for 5 months, but we only employ them when we need them. We call them a day before the storm. And that way they could be out in the overnight hours. We still need to figure out what to do about a mechanic if this person's on the job and no one else is and they're out in the middle of the county. Perhaps we could work with Waterloo. They're running their vehicles here in town all 24/7, so they probably have mechanical available. But those are a few of the things we need to work out, why we've been reluctant to go with this type of worker in the past. But I just feel that perhaps we are seeing a changing environment. We are probably going to be experiencing more ice in the future is what meteorologists tell us. I want to be more proactive. That's our job, is to be proactive.
So what
Sheriff.
in all honesty, what can you do about ice? Nothing, really?
So we would like to get the road pre-treated,
Right.
more of our roads.
And then it blows off.
There are
if it's
ways
windy.
that we could treat the salt before it hits the ground. We can pre-treat that. This is what the DOT does. They pre-treat the salt before it hits the ground. And then there's a coating of water, moisture on top of that salt, and it sticks to the ice better. Generally, that's not going to work at night better because we have colder conditions at night. So, yes, our opportunities are limited during the nighttime hours. But there are other events where it would be helpful to have another person out in the evening hours.
And Tyson usually cancel or delays shifts if it's bad weather, so what was that trucker doing out anyway?
It was more than one.
Oh, I know.
Yes, there was,
Plus, I think we had, how many, 30, 40 cars laid in the ditch also?
Same thing today.
Did you treat that road that particular road we're talking about at all during the day?
We treated it 3 times that day.
Yeah.
But as the semi-traffic goes down it, it just blows off. And
Well-
the thing, something we do different than the state too, is we have a sand and salt mixture. So when the winds are blowing like crazy, if we drop that sand, the snow sticks to it. Then instead of that thin ice layer, we start getting hard packed snow and start stacking up. Then it takes 3 to 4 times as much material after the storm's over to get them to melt. So it's not a good situation.
Well, let's at least explore that with the committee. I mean, you're not talking that many days out of the year, but we may have to think outside the box, and we may have to be a little bit more flexible of what you're normally used to doing. If we can't do that, you're telling us because of contracts, then
It's more so because of staffing, Tom, than anything. Like today, I have every guy available out. I've got, and every spare truck that we have is out because I've got vehicles broke down. I just don't have the staff or the equipment to get it done. That's kind of what it boils down to, and I have routes that have high traffic volume on them, as well as low traffic, so for us to just run straight salt or something, it's extremely hard to do.
I guess I just don't see hiring one part-time person is gonna alleviate this problem. I don't even know if it's even gonna help it. Unless that individual lives and camps out there on these roads, all night long dropping stuff, and I don't even know if that's feasible. And like you indicated earlier, you don't put people out because you need mechanic and you need somebody else, so.
Yes, but we would like to look at options for fiscal year 20.
Well, why don't you go ahead, get your committee together, but let's kind of move it on a little bit and have a meeting or two at the best, and then see if anything you can bring back to the board. But, you know, we're here in the middle of February, we still can get a lot of ice yet this year. And there's years we haven't had any, you know. And I see there's a shortage on TV today with some of the municipalities on salt. I don't know how we're standing, but
We're struggling as fast as it's coming in, we're using it.
yeah. And, you know, somebody could say, well, why don't we keep more on hand? And I suppose you gotta have a place to store it, which we have increased our storage areas greatly over the years, but anyway, why don't we go ahead and do that? But I would suggest that you move quickly, and maybe there's nothing you could do. You can bring it back to us and say, we looked at everything, but I'd like you to take a good look at some alternatives and think outside the box, and maybe be more conscious if something's coming that we can particularly pay a little bit more closer to them roads where the sheriff was talking about the other day. Because it wasn't one semi, it was multiple semis, it was, Jesus, I thought I heard 40 cars plus. I don't know if that's true, Sheriff.
We had a total of 70.
They're all over the place out there, and obviously they shouldn't have been on there, but truckers ain't gonna stop. They're coming in, and obviously Tyson was open, so.
We had a lot of black ice that day. I mean, so
Yeah?
I was driving down the road slow because I knew it was icy, and I had people popping up behind me. Like, you know, they thought that the pavement was dry, but.
And I know we've got a safety factor out there, but the same token, we got our deputies out there driving on them roads too. That call I had yesterday, the Dunkerton ambulance, they said they couldn't even walk on the road to do their job as an ambulance. And that was on, where was that one at, Kathy? C-57, I think?
Yeah, Cedar West.
So it's a problem all over. I don't know. Let's address it and see if we can come up with something. Sheriff said he's gonna have Mark sit in on that and probably himself. We'll get 2 supervisors and we'll see if we can come up with something, and hopefully we can help the rest of this year and maybe in the future. Sound good?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay. Take care of that. Maybe the weather was different in 03, huh, Kathy? Could have been a good year when they drafted that. Okay, I think that's it. So, again, we're going to do budget tomorrow starting at 10 o'clock. So with that, any reports from the board?
Yes, I just want people to know the budget is generally more complicated than many people realize. And all the supervisors put a lot of work into it, and there's many things that we consider. The level of service we provide. Reserves are a topic of discussion right now, and we have differing philosophies on how much should be in reserves. We want to make sure employees are treated fair and equitable. We want to make sure we're providing the appropriate level of service to our citizens. But we also want to hold the line on taxes. So there are many moving parts, and we're also looking toward the future. We don't know what the future may hold. The weather complicates matters. So I just want the citizens to know that all 5 supervisors put their heart and souls into doing what they think is right for this county. And a lot of work goes into this, and it's a lot more complex than many people even realize.
Welcome to the club. Are we gonna have a problem with salt?
I hope not, but if it becomes hard to get, yes. I'm not gonna lie, companies, so one or the other can get it in there. I've got the room to put it, but, yeah, so in between storms and stuff, I wanna be able to get it out there and put it down, but I have to balance that.
Okay. Greg, anything?
Nope.
Chris, Linda?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.
See you, Linda.